Hello, and thank you for joining me in the discussion on sex trafficking. Today, I'd like to talk about who is at risk for sex trafficking. What makes someone more at risk of falling victim to sex trafficking than others? Knowing the vulnerabilities of people who are exploited through sex trafficking can drastically lower the number of those who are impacted by this awful epidemic. There are no definite criteria that automatically makes someone more at risk, but there are a few factors that play a part in increasing one's vulnerability to sex trafficking. One of the biggest factors of becoming a target of sex trafficking can be summed up in one study: the adverse childhood experiences, otherwise known as ACEs. The substance abuse population increases the risk of becoming vulnerable to sex trafficking. Previous abuse and or neglect make people more susceptible to falling into the hands of traffickers. Abuse breaks down a child. It lowers self-esteem, affects brain development, and alters the structure of the parts of the brain that control impulse and emotion, all of which a trafficker can spot from a mile away. Traffickers will use the effects of abuse to manipulate someone into a life of sex trafficking. Other big factors that can cause someone to become a target of sex trafficking victimization are being homeless or a runaway. These two correlate because many youth on the street choose to run away, oftentimes running away from dysfunction at home. These two situational needs can cause someone to be more at risk to a life of sex trafficking because people in these situations seek out what most people in America already have: shelter, work, and security. Traffickers prey on these basic needs by promising to provide for them in exchange for sex work. It is a lot easier to lure someone in from the streets who is desperate for security than it is to lure someone who already has their basic needs met. In fact, 1 in 5 homeless youth are estimated to become victims of sex trafficking through these vulnerabilities. Sex trafficking is also a big problem among undocumented immigrants. A sex trafficking victim of undocumented status may develop a mindset of fear, distrust, denial, and conflicting loyalties. They are often fearful of being deported or jailed, and therefore they might distrust authority figures, particularly law enforcement and government officials. Traffickers may convince such victims that if they report to the police will jail the victim for prostitution while the traffickers and buyers of sex go free. These are just a few of the things that make someone more vulnerable to becoming a victim of sex trafficking. Please feel free to share this with your population and your community on your social media platforms. Thank you.